What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? You already know who this is. This is your boy Ryan Walker, better known as the historian. We got a hot one for you tonight. But before we bring the hot interview with you tonight with the legendary Larry Little, Hall of Fame offensive lineman for the Miami Dolphins who went 17-0, before we bring that to you, make sure if you're on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to YouTube for us or whatnot. Click the like button, click the subscribe button. We're going to continue to keep bringing you interviews. We're going to talk about the Falcons, but we're also going to bring interviews to come through the building. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get this thing started. Let's get it.
Okay, y'all, this is it.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? You are in the place to be, the Birdcage. Tonight, we have a special guest coming through. Legendary Hall of Fame offensive lineman Larry Little, who led the way for that Miami Dolphins 1972 perfect football team that's still perfect now, and no one's touched that record. Also, they went back to the Super Bowl in 1973 and repeated. Hopefully, our Falcons can get a little bit of that wisdom and that knowledge from the legendary lineman himself, because we pride our offense off of the same values of running the football as the Dolphins did in the 70s. Hopefully, we can duplicate that success. But before we duplicate any success, let's go ahead and duplicate that like and subscribe button. If you see anything that you like on this channel and also with the material that we bring, go ahead and click that like and subscribe button to help us get some likes and get some more subscribers coming to the building, because we're going to continue to keep bringing the fire for you guys. And speaking of bringing fire, I got to go ahead and start bringing in my crew of assistants, better known as the magnificent Birdcage crew. But you know what? They ain't assistants. They ain't my right-hand partners, man. They've been here with me since day one. They've been literally making this thing go. So without them, I wouldn't be here. So I'm always grateful to these guys and everybody backstage. I got to bring in my right-hand man, the philanthropist, this my buddy, my partner, my brother, Mr. Killian, K-Dub Worthy, better known as Clutch, as he always is. What's going on?
What's up? What's up? Good evening, all the Birdcage official listeners and official ladies and gentlemen out there that do subscribe and listen to us every day, weekly, and all throughout the year. We'll gladly appreciate everybody that tunes in. It's going to be a great show. I'm glad to be in the building tonight. The season is on the cusp. So let's get ready, Falcon fans and sports fans out there. We're gonna have a great interview tonight. We're just gonna get into it, but let's go. Let's get.
Bruh, I'm just gonna be honest with you, man. I think the cohesion, even though we are Falcon fans and we support the Falcons, I can't even front. I think the cohesion that we have as a Birdcage family is as close as learning how to build up like those 72 Dolphins did when they went perfect, man. They had to work out the kinks before they got there. And it's a beautiful thing that we got it rolling. We got to bring in another guy that has it, this three-headed monster right here, the original OGs. Got to bring in my man Great Beard. What's going on?
Fellas. Member of the Birdcage. What's going on with y'all, man? How y'all feeling?
Hey, man, we're good. We're good. Got to give a shout out to our guy, Coach Brant. He couldn't be in the building with us tonight. He is celebrating the life of his new grandson that has arrived today. He's watching his other two grandchildren right now. Shout out to his family. Shout out to his daughter. Thank God they had a safe delivery and she's doing all right, man. So he's got 3 boys now.
Right.
3 grandbabies to look after.
Granddaddy Brent, whatever you want to call it, Brent. Congratulations.
He calls himself Grampy. That's what he calls himself. And so getting to it, let's talk about it. Now they've added one more to the family. That's just like the Falcons right now. We got this 53-man roster going. We finally made these cuts, and they were difficult, but the thing is, we were able to bring some guys back, which is a beautiful thing. So got some guys coming in from the practice squad. Not really too much action. They're still looking in the receiver category. What do you think the Falcons are going to do when it comes to bringing in wide receivers now that they're in the market for looking at some?
Gotta have value. They want somebody that can complement Drake London, who, if he have another college league and pretty much is the number one. But also, man, they gonna want to bring somebody that fit their identity on what they want to do on offense. Gotta want to pass block. Gotta want to run block. Big gotta fit the mold of the offense. The offense commit from the run.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of think our receiver core is not bad right now, but it can always improve though further on in the season.
Most definitely. K-Dub, what you think, man?
We're always scouring the league for additional talent. Like this week, we did go after another offensive lineman. So I feel like we're always trying to improve the roster, the back end of the roster. So if we see someone that gets let go that could improve our team, just to piggyback off what Graybeard was saying, we'll kick the tires on them and to try to improve every single department and every single position that we have on the team, because we're in the process of trying to build a championship type of roster, and there's a lot of upheaval and different aspects of our roster. So it's always about maintaining a championship roster year round. So it's going to be a lot of names that you may like, but may not be here next season, because we always continue to improve and always continue to sharpen and get better with the roster that we have.
Most definitely. We're going to go ahead and bring our guest in here. It's enough. Today, we don't have much coming out of Falcons camp right now. We're still looking around, but we got to bring in someone who knows about winning championships, what it takes to win a championship, and the road to get there. He was a gentleman that played for the San Diego Chargers. They're the Los Angeles Chargers now, so got to correct that. He started out playing with the Chargers before he ended up heading off to Miami. So he understands this process very well. But without further ado, we got to bring into the building one of the legends of the game. We're so blessed to have him, Mr. Larry Little. Welcome to the Birdcage, Mr. Little.
Oh, my pleasure. Good evening, gentlemen. How you doing?
Oh man, it's amazing when we can have a legendary offensive lineman who not only understands the running game, but also was one of the best pass blockers in the league too. Our Falcons are a heavy run team, and as we always joke and kid, we say, yeah, we all try to duplicate all the running teams of the 70s, but I don't think anybody will ever touch what you guys did, with that Dolphin, that 3-headed monster that you guys had down in Miami with Larry Zonka, Jim Kick, and Mercury Morris coming off with their speed.
Well, we were the first team to have 2,000-yard rushes during the season. And only although that Mercury and Zon gained 1,000 yards, Jim Kickham I'm talking about gained over 500 yards, and so we were probably, I still say we're not probably, we're the best offensive line to ever play the NFL.
Well, y'all have the 17-0 record to prove it, so no one has touched that record. There's been people to come close, but they've never been able to break it.
51 years, no cigars.
Hey, that's fit. So you guys been popping champagne bottles for 51 years, protecting that record.
Well, we don't. Well, a lot of the guys pop champagne bottles. What I do is pop a little Grey Goose.
Ooh. Hey, I'm chuckling about it because we talk about just the legends of the game and yourself. You're a Miami boy, but everybody doesn't know that a lot of people don't know that you got Georgia roots. So technically you're a Georgia boy that was a migrant. So I did the same thing coming up. I migrated to Florida too. So I get it. Groveland,
well,
right?
I was born in Georgia, about 40 miles west of Savannah. But I came to Miami when I was 3 weeks old. So I didn't know anything about Georgia other than Miami, over town in Miami. So, but right now, my mom is buried there on her parents' ground, and my grandparents are buried there, and family members are buried there in Georgia. But, I am a Miami guy. And although I was born in Groveland, I never knew I was born in Georgia, born in Groveland until I came to Miami. I thought I was born in Miami. So
nothing wrong with that. So starting out, you move to you go down to Miami. You grow up in the as what we say. Like I said, I moved from Atlanta to Duval County, so we call y'all the bottom boys.
Yes.
Yeah. So with you guys being the bottom boys, you grew up not too far from one of our former guests that was on the show, the legendary HBCU track coach, Mr. George Williams. Y'all were good friends growing up back in the day.
We were great friends growing up, and right now he's the one that got you contacted with me, and we are still close friends. And right now, like I used to tease him a lot, at St. Aug, they called him Pup. But his nickname in Miami was Dog Mouth. So, but we are great friends right now. Every year he comes down and play in my golf tournament, and we're very, very close. Although he was 2 years ahead of me, but he still had that over town, Miami's over town, bonded with us.
And I'm gonna get my question out for you, and then I'm gonna let my guys jump in on this. Just starting off, we on this show I promote HBCUs heavy. It's something all my guys can tell you, and that's just something that's near and dear to my heart. So you being an HBCU Hall of Famer as well, legendary player at Bethune Cookman College, and you came out of Washington High down in Miami, which is
Booker T. Washington.
I'm sorry, Booker T. Washington, excuse me. Booker T. Washington High. Let me get that right. Produced a lot of great football players, but you're one of the best to ever come up out of there. What was your experiences understanding that athletics was going to get you a higher education and possibly get you a way out of the Overtown area to explore different facets of life?
Well, when I was growing up, I wasn't very good. In fact, in ninth grade, I was the only ninth grader to remain on the football team. All the other we were from seventh through ninth, 12th grade at the time. All other ninth graders quit, but I was the only one to stick it out. And I was called all kind of names. I would never be nothing. I was sorry. I was a little fat guy, but I was determined to try to make it. In fact, I had a coach one time. He had a drill to run through tires for calisthenics. And I had a coach throw dirt in my face one time, which would be unheard of in today's football. And to this day, I will not call his name because he treated me like I was a piece of trash. But I was determined to prove that one day I was going to make it. And my senior year in high school, my coach, my head coach, all my coaches basically played at FAMU. And Coach James Blue Everett, he was a great rattler. Coach Alkin Hepburn, my senior year coach, was a great rattler. But he wanted me to go to college, but he didn't think I was good enough to play at FAMU at the time. So I only had 2 scholarships coming out of high school. One was Bethune Cookman. The other one was St. Augustine College in Raleigh, North Carolina. That's where Pup went to college. A lot of my teammates went there. The only reason I didn't go to St. Augustine because I knew my parents couldn't afford for me to come home on short holidays like Thanksgiving. And so I decided to go to Bethune Cookman. And I didn't know I had to make the team at Bethune Cookman when I got there. It was like the pros, they could cut you if you didn't make the football team.
Wow.
But, fortunately, I made the football team. I started my freshman year. And let's see, but, as a young man, at age 17, I made the best decision I've made in my life. Because if I had gone to St. Augustine dropped football my senior year. And I went to Bethune Cookman because, like I said, all my good friends were at St. Augustine. But the best, as a young man, I made that decision to go to a Bethune Cookman, and something that I never regretted.
And you got your degree in education, right?
My degree was in sociology, and I never thought I would end up working because I had to work during the off season because we weren't making. My first contract was $12,500, but I did not make the regular team in San Diego. In San Diego, my contract was $12,500 with state tax. I was on the regular team. My first 4 games, I was on the Cavs, what they call the Cavs squad at the game. After my first contract, after state taxes in California and income taxes with the government, I may have made about $7,000 my rookie year. So coming back to Miami during the off season, I had to find me an off season job because there's no way I could have afforded it. And I didn't have a car and I didn't have anything like that. But, I was just determined, hopefully, that one day I could mature enough to go on and play in at the time of the AFL, play in the AFL, but then the league merged and it was an NFL.
I just want to say once again, thank you for coming on. I just want to expand on the time that you coached at with the Ohio Glory. And
wow, you really did some research.
Expound on that time with our listeners and subscribers during that time because a lot of people have never heard of that team, and some of these newer and younger subscribers may get a little bit of insight, a little bit of history and knowledge right there.
Well, at Bethune, when I left Bethune, a friend of mine, John Wooten, I don't know if you heard of John or not, he was a scout for the NFL.
Okay.
And he contacted the general manager of the, I put it this way at first. I was unceremonially fired from Bethune Cookman, my alma mater, and I won 2 conference championships at Bethune Cookman. The first MEAC championship in '84 and won it again in '88.
Yeah.
I left Bethune bitter because I felt that, like I said, unceremoniously let go because there were some alumni that were talking. And I was going to leave anyway. It would have been better if I left on my own because I got the job with the Ohio Glory 2 weeks after I left Bethune.
Mm-hmm.
And my first year there wasn't great, but you know, we were an expansion team. We were an expansion team that year. We only won one game, but we were in every game that we played. And I still have great relationships with those guys that played for me, not only at Bethune, but with the Ohio Glory. Now, I put it this way. My general manager, Pete Hadhazy, I mean, I could have had a better person to work under. And on that team, I had two guys that played for me with the Ohio Glory, ended up in the NFL and winning the Super Bowl. One was George Koontz that played with the Green Bay Packers, and the other was Scott Rowan, who was a punter with the Denver Broncos. Two of those guys went on to win Super Bowls in the NFL. But it was a great experience for me. And unfortunately, after 1 year, the league was disbanded to move all the teams to Europe. And I had an offer to go to Europe, but I didn't want to go to Europe, leave my family here and me being in Europe for that amount of time. And but it was a great experience living in Columbus, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Okay, it was great. Okay, Gravy, you got anything?
First of all, Mr. Little, an honor and a privilege to meet a legend like yourself and a Hall of Famer. Tucker, I got a question about your NFL career, and that first season that you played with the Miami Dolphins. Could you give the fans a little bit of that insight and how was that? How was training camp? And
well, you broke up a little on me. I didn't get the first.
Just a little bit of your Miami Dolphins experience that you played with the team. How was your first year
in Miami?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I put it this way: in San Diego, it was different. We were on the West Coast, and when I came, Miami was my home. When I came to Miami, I put it this way: I walked into a KKK convention. All those guys on the Dolphin team at that particular time were from. We talk about 67, 69. And all the guys were from.
You got a little bit of little.
All these guys from Southern School. And I felt uncomfortable at the beginning. But I ended up meeting a guy who was an All-American at Alabama. He was like 5'10", 250 pounds. I knew I was going to get a job. But not if I would be accepted or not.
Excuse me, Mr. Little. Not to cut you off. I'm going to let you get back to it. We're hearing a bit of echo on you on the computer. Hearing a little bit of echo when you speak. We're just hearing it coming back. Times. I think it was the volume.
Yeah, it might have been the volume.
Hello. Okay. No, it's still.
No, it's better now.
It's better now.
Hello. Okay.
Because Glenn went off and it cleared up.
I tell you when I gave you that.
Glenn will come right back. He's just got to take care of that real quick. Go ahead, Mr. Little. I'm sorry about that.
I tell you when I gained respect in Miami. Our first preseason game was against the Chicago Bears. And I blocked Dick Butkus and pancaked him and put him on his behind. and he reached up and punched me. And I tried to dig a hole with him. And the official, the umpire name was Red Marcroft, and he tried to break us up. And Butkus bit his finger. Yes. And then I was fined $50 for being ejected from the game. And George Wilson, who was my coach that year before, he was the year before Shula.
Mm-hmm.
George had everybody to pay $50 to pay my $50 bond, my fine, because I fought Dick Butkus and kicked his behind. And that's how I gained respect from the rednecks that were on that team.
Okay.
In the second preseason game,
I mean, having been traded there, I know that it wasn't, the best be at that. And I'm echoing now. Okay. So, but basically, being in Miami at that time, it wasn't the ideal place that you wanted to be traded to, being traded back home and dealing with the KKK clan meeting or whatever you may have called. But I feel like the success was there. So how do you feel now looking back on? I know you wasn't for the world, but it's like what was going through your head during that first couple of years? It's like
you really did great. You looked it up. You did a good job because when I was traded to Miami, I wasn't pleased.
Mm-hmm.
Although it was coming back home. The reason why in San Diego we weren't winning any championships, but we were a good football team. We had some great players on that team, like John Hadle, Lance Allsworth, Paul Lowe.
Dickie Post was on that team with you, right?
Who?
Dickie Post was on that team with you, right?
On that team too, yes. And I was getting ready to make my home in San Diego. I was getting ready to stay in San Diego because I loved it out there. And Miami was an expansion team.
Yep.
And although, like I said, we weren't winning championships, but we were competitive. And Miami was an expansion team that began in 1966. And we were getting our butts kicked. And my first year in Miami, we were 3-10-1. The next year, Shula came in, and that's when everything turned around for us. But I wasn't happy about it. But it was my experience of playing for Sid Gilman. I put it this way: when I was traded from San Diego, before I was traded from San Diego, I trapped the guy that was on the team in practice, and Sid Gilman said, "That's the first time you hit anybody all year." That was my second year.
Wow.
And I told you a word that that starts with an F. You said, and all the older guys said, "Oh, you won't be here next year. You'll be gone." They were right. It got rid of me. But in my Hall of Fame speech, I thanked Sid Gilman, being a free agent, for giving me the opportunity to play professional football. And I thanked him for trading me to Miami. And Sid was there because that was his 10th anniversary being there. Sid Shula was very similar. Sid he was an offensive genius. Shula was a very strict disciplinarian. And coming his first year there, when first I met him, I knew he was a no-nonsense guy. And after his press conference, I heard he had become the head coach. And I went down to the DuPont Plaza Hotel where the press conference was. And I said, I walked up to him and said, "Hey, Coach Shula, my name is Larry Little. I'm your right guard." He looked at me and said, first thing he said was me, "How much do you weigh?" I said, "Oh, I'm about 285 pounds. He looked at me and walked away. Didn't say another word to me. I said, "Oh, hell." But, it all worked out okay and ended up being a 11-year captain for him. And Well, I call it his black captain because we had two of the white guys that were captain. I was his black captain, and for 11 years, yeah.
Now we getting ready to switch it over because we're gonna get into the Super Bowl chatter, but I'm gonna talk about what it was a little bit before you got there. So Don Shula's first year, you guys went 10-4, and you lost into the divisional round with the Oakland Raiders.
Correct.
And I talk about that bunch on this show. I tell everybody, I said, a lot of people try to say, oh, the Raiders were dirty. I said, nah, they were just they were a very physical defense, especially in the secondary. And you had dealings with a gentleman by the name of Mr. George Butch Atkinson, one of my favorite safeties of all time. And you guys go back to the rivalry that you guys had when he was at Morris Brown and you were at Bethune Cookman. Everybody knew he was a track guy as well. So what was that encounter like in the playoff with those Raiders with a young John Madden on the sideline acting a nut pretty much as he always did? And you had George Atkinson, you had Gerald Irons on that team, Hewitt Dixon, former God rest his soul, former FAMU Rattler. I mean, what was it like when you guys were tangling with that bunch in your first playoff appearance in your career?
Well, first of all, with George, you're right. We had a rivalry with Morris Brown. We were at Bethune Cookman. Come to find out, he was from Savannah, Georgia, and all my family was in Savannah, Georgia. I had an uncle who was a minister, but he was also a barber, and he was George's barber at his barber shop. And that's how George and I got to know each other and talk about each other. As a matter of fact, George called me one year last year. He got my phone number. We talked about it. But, talking about the team that may have had your number, the only team that beat us more than we beat them for some reason were the Oakland Raiders. And I never forget in 1974, when we had the lead and we were going to win the game. At the end of the game,
see your hands.
Yeah, and Kenny Stevens was going down and he threw the ball in the air, and Clarence caught the ball in the end zone. And they carried John Madden big behind off the field. They had won the Super Bowl, not knowing that they had to play the Steelers the next week.
Well,
and the Steelers beat them the next week to go to the Super Bowl.
Well, remember the press drummed up, and I remember, my grandfather, he's like I told you, my grandfather is a diehard Dolphins fan, been a fan since the team hit the city, and he's from Jacksonville. And he told me, he said it was a columnist, you guys lost that game. Clarence Davis couldn't catch a cold, butt naked, barefoot in Alaska. He had the worst hands on that Raiders team. Everybody, even Kenny Stabler says that. He catches that ball. Manny Fernandez hit his zone just to get that one shot because he knew it was over with at that time. This is after you guys had your reign, but we're going to get to your reign. Here's my question. Do you think that the media and the newspapers drummed up enough drama with after they beat you guys? Because and I know you remember the paper article saying that the Super Bowl was played pretty much in Oakland with the Raiders and the Dolphins. And like you said, they had to play the Steelers next week. And the Steelers were pissed about what happened.
The Steelers was a very good up-and-coming team. Although I believe to this day, if we had to play the Steelers, because we matched up well against Pittsburgh, that we would have beaten Pittsburgh that year, although it's not written in stone that we would have. But they were a great football team, an up-and-coming football team. And I think it would have been a great matchup because we had great matchup on the offensive line, with Joe and myself. I'm talking about Joe Green. And I was Joe kicked my behind, and it was a great matchup. And I believe he would have beaten. See, the year before in 1972, the year we went undefeated, we had the best record in football. But we had to go and play Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. During those days, the team with the best record didn't have the home field advantage. And we beat them on New Year's Eve in Pittsburgh the year before.
Mm. Y'all had the Dolphins, Raiders. So the Dolphins and the Raiders and the Steelers and the Colts had classic battles, but a lot of people don't know about the legendary 3 overtime game that you guys had with the Kansas City Chiefs on Christmas Day up in Memorial Stadium back in the day, where Ed Podolak put on the show and so did Larry Zonk. That was that was, to me, I looked at it and broke it down. NFL Films had it and looked at it. You had one of your best days. Willie Lanier is one of the best linebackers to ever play this game. Point blank period. I'm sorry. I'm getting ready to sit here and mess up the man's school or whatnot. Comes out, he's one of the best linebackers to ever do this. Everybody talked about Butkus, but Willie Lanier doesn't get enough love. Morgan State alum. You undressed him in that game when it was a trap play that you ran. He shot the A gap and you came over with a nice forearm and you literally you pushed him out, and he was a big man. How did you catch him that well? Because he's a very intelligent linebacker and he was able to always be in the right place at the right time.
I don't remember the particular play you're talking about. What I remember in that game was I was playing in front of the strongest man in the NFL at that time. And that was my good friend, Curly Cope. Curly was the strongest man. Although Joe Green was the best I played against, Curly was the strongest I played against. And I played most of that game with a hip pointer.
Ooh.
Yes. And but I was not going to come out of that game. And ironic part about that too, we closed down the old Arrowhead Stadium, and the next year we opened up the new Arrowhead Stadium by beating Kansas City in Kansas City. But they were good football. They were a great football team. But I feel that we were a growing football team at the time, and we were not going to be denied.
Gray Bear, what you got?
Man, hearing all of this, man, couldn't imagine. But you had some pretty good defense. You had a good defensive team, that 1972 team. You had a thrown safety and a free safety that used to cause havoc and used to cause turnover like crazy. And my question is, how was it going against them in practice every day?
Well, I didn't really go against them that much in practice because we were running the ball, but they were great. You're talking about Jake Scott and Dick Anderson. They were two great safety. As a matter of fact, that year in 1972, we were number 1 in offense, we were number 1 in defense, we were number 1 in special teams. And right to this day, that defensive team we had only made 5 mental errors the whole year. They were so smart on defense. And the thing also, too, we only had 2 brothers on the defense.
Yep. And you had one of the smartest linebackers with Nick Bronacani. He finished law school while he was doing that. Dick Anderson was an accountant. And then you have Jake Scott.
Dick was the first person to have a cell phone, too, back in those days. He had a cell phone in the back. He did business in the back of his car after practice. And but we only had 2. We had Curtis Johnson, who was a great defensive back, who stopped Podolak twice from scoring in that longest game. And we had Lloyd Mumford, another corner, and the backup defensive lineman was Malty Moore. You know where Malty graduated from? Bethune Cookman.
Them Cookman boys, man. Y'all pump them out.
Yeah, we only had three blacks on the entire defense. But we were number one in special teams. We blocked punts, we blocked field goals, we did everything that a great team could do.
I was like the perfect in every aspect.
If not perfect, very close to it. Cleveland game was held in the first preseason game that year. I mean, first playoff game that year.
Mm-hmm.
But we blocked the punt to win that game.
And everybody forgets the game that you guys played against the Minnesota Vikings. I've seen hard hits before. I've seen tons of them. I've never seen Larry Zonka ever get hit like that. Roy Winston cut him in half.
He did.
What was his mindset like after Winston hit him like that in the open field catching that pass?
Well, knowing Zonka is one of the toughest SOBs you ever find. And although he was hurting them, but he came back and played the rest of the game. And but that was a hell of a hit that he took that game. When Winston hit him right in the back of his back.
Mm.
He always says he wakes up in Alaska. He says on cold days that he wakes up in Alaska, he says, I think about Roy Winston. He said, and I hope in Southeast Louisiana he thinks about me. But
I thought Zonka said he moved to North Carolina now.
I think he did.
He has a place in North Carolina now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he got flagged that year for hitting the defensive back, and the guy was doing the twitch on the bench.
I don't think it's ever been in the history of the NFL an offensive player got a penalty for hitting a defensive player while running the football. And the funny part about that, Shula ran up to him and said, great job. Then he threw the flag. Shula said, what the hell are you doing?
Man.
Go ahead, kill it. I'm sorry, man.
I mean, just being part of the, that royalty of the NFL, like far as, being in the NFL Hall of Fame. And then you also are in the, Dolphins, Ring of Honor. So I'm just trying to figure out which, I mean, some people would say it would be the, the Hall of Fame, but I mean, which one is more, you hold more dear to your heart? Is it being in the Ring of Honor or the Hall of Fame?
Well, being in the Hall of Fame because, like I've been asked this question before, being as far as comparing going into the NFL and being in the Hall of Fame. Now, to my answer is always when going undefeated was a team thing that we did. We went undefeated as a team.
Yeah.
But going into the Hall of Fame, that was an individual honor for me, being recognized as one of the best to ever play the game.
Yeah. And also a second part of that question, just being like, one of the, not so many of them, but it's only a few of you like in the teams, being one of the, undrafted free agents that went in, just being, having that prestige, that honor, because I feel like that's very much an honor because it's kind of like you were passed over in the draft process,
Mm-hmm.
And you was, and back then there were like 20-some draft choices when I came out. And I still was, I tell you what, I was the captain of the football team at Bethune, and the telephone right next to my dormitory room. I wouldn't let anybody get near that phone 2 days before the draft. And I was sitting by the phone waiting on a phone call that never came. Until the third day is when I got the phone call that a team wanted to sign me as a free agent. After 23 draft picks, I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, and all I wanted was an opportunity and a chance to prove that I could play professional football. And that call finally came to go to San Diego.
I know they had to be elating, right? It's fresh air just to get that phone call. I mean, even if it was undrafted, just talk about that journey, man, because it's hard just to come from number one draft pick or a second round draft pick, but just come from the undrafted free agent route. I mean, the work ethic.
You just mentioned my journey. As a matter of fact, I have a book coming out.
Okay.
It should be coming out soon, about the first of the year. And it's about my journey. My journey. It's one of the titles, maybe. We haven't decided on it yet. My journey from the outhouse to the penthouse.
I like
the outhouse that I was born in didn't have an indoor toilet. My grandparents' house, the house I was born in, and the penthouse is making it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So,
when that book comes out, we're definitely all in support, and we're gonna actually you get me that title, I'm gonna have them wherever they're publishing. If it's Amazon, Barnes and Nobles online, I'm gonna make sure that we put that out there for you, Mr. Little, because
I appreciate it.
We already had Dr. Mel Pender put his story out. We're still promoting his book as well, so we're definitely going to promote your book too.
Who was that?
Dr. Melvin Pender Jr., Olympic sprinter, 1968.
Okay, yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
So here's the question I got for you. Let's get to these Super Bowls. Now, you guys played in 3 straight Super Bowls, 1971, 72, and 73. You literally were in a situation to where you guys went from, like you said, being in the outhouse of the NFL, and when you get Don Shula, he shapes you and he forms you and gets you guys into being a winning, competitive franchise to a championship franchise. Atlanta Falcons, y'all could have had this. The Rankin Smith boys screwed that up with Don Shula. We had him in the house. He wanted to be in Atlanta.
I never knew that.
Yep. They try to keep that quiet, but he was one of the guys that they interviewed, but they didn't want to make him a general manager. They didn't want to give him that much power like Miami, like Joe Robbie did for Don Shula. It was just like, man, we could have had you playing for us, and we could have been an undefeated team, Mr. Little. That hurts still to this day to think about that you guys took Don Shula, who was one of the smartest football players. Because he always says I wasn't the best, but he said I was just always studying, and he was just smart as a former defensive back, being a Paul Brown disciple, and bringing everything he learned from Paul Brown to Miami, and literally you guys taking it to another level. What was that journey like, playing in three straight Super Bowls? The first one, you guys were happy to be there, but so disappointing that you lost to them stinking Cowboys. Nobody liked Dallas.
Well, I think we were just happy that first year. You going into the playoffs in 1970. First of all, we lost to the Raiders. Going into the next year, we were playing the Cowboys in the Super Bowl. We were a young football team, still a young football team, and we were just happy to be there. And I don't think our focus was what it should have been in that game. And I think we grew as a football team that year, coming back the next year. Now, we never talked about going undefeated. Our goal was to go back to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. And, we were happy to get there. And, when we got into L.A. that year, we got there on a Sunday. We didn't have a curfew. We were loose. We didn't have a curfew that Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. In New Orleans the year before, we had the same schedule, but we happened to be there. Being in New Orleans, we kind of whooped it up a little bit.
French Quarter stories.
Yes.
On the next edition of
being in LA, we were still focused on what we had to do. And as a matter of fact, we were underdogs in that 1972 against the Redskins. And we were
over the hill game.
The old men.
Yep.
They were called the Old Hill game, kick our butt. So,
man. And y'all played against some great legends on that team.
Yes. But it would have been, if Garrow hadn't done what he did, it would have been the only shutout game in Super Bowl history. talking about the Falcons, our first Monday night game in 71 was against your Falcons.
And y'all beat the brakes off of them.
Beat on a Monday night game, we beat the Falcons. But you know, after going undefeated, a lot I've said this on many occasions. We were a better football team in 1973 than we were in 1972. We won game in 72, but we didn't dominate teams in 72. In 73, we dominated teams. Although the one team that beat us, like I said, they always found a way to beat us, with the Raiders, the second game of the year in 73. But after that game, we went to 10 games in a row. We dominated everybody we played. We already had the playoffs clinched. Howard Snellenberger, who was on our staff, had become the head coach of the Baltimore Colts at the time. And a lot of us sat out where we played maybe 1 or 2 series. A lot of us didn't play because they were talking about firing Howard at Baltimore. And surely they want Howard to lose his job. So a lot of us didn't play, and the Colts beat us after we won 10 games in a row. But in the playoffs, I mean, we just walked right through the playoffs. We beat the first team we beat were the Raiders. I think it was the Bengals. The Bengals.
Yeah, it was the Bengals. It was the Bengals. You guys dropped first because y'all went up against the legendary Kent FAMU quarterback that was converted to a cornerback, newly minted in the Hall of Fame, Mr. Ken Riley. Got to show some love to him.
My man. Yeah. We, in fact, I really pushed to get Ken in the Hall of Fame, although he was a rattler, but he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. But we beat Cincinnati, and I did the Joe Namath against the Raiders. I said, they will not beat us again. We dominated first. In fact, the first 2 times we had the ball against the Bengals, we scored. The first 2 times we had the ball against the Raiders, we scored. And the first 3 times in the Super Bowl we played the Vikings, we scored. We just dominated those 3 teams going into. That's why I'm saying we were a better football team in 73 than we were in 1972.
Hold on, Mr. Little. Now you talk about how dominant you guys were. Let me paint the picture for you guys that are new to this, that aren't historians of the game, or y'all don't really pay attention to the type of talent they played against. That front 4 from Minnesota, the Purple People Eaters. I'll tell you like this: you got Carl Eller, Hall of Famer. You have Gary Larson, definitely a solid defensive lineman. You have Alan Page, the first defensive MVP of the league that is a Hall of Famer. You have Jim Marshall, who played for 20 years, that should be in the Hall of Fame. Jim Marshall didn't make a tackle. I'm sorry, it was Alan Page that didn't make a tackle that whole day in that game because of you and Alan and Mr. Kuchenberg, Mr. Bob Kuchenberg. Y'all just whipped him like a redheaded stepchild that day.
They were that particular day, a red shitty.
I got to show some love, but I got to be on your side with this one, Mr. Little. That was, if anybody ever goes to YouTube, you can pull up that Super Bowl of 1973 Dolphins, and you hear the legendary voice of God, as Billy White Shoes Johnson called it. John Facenda said, Alan Page does not make a play all day because of the great blocking and the trap schemes of Bob Kuchenberg and Larry Little. When you hear that voice, it's like, good Lord, gives you chills.
That was probably the easiest game we played all year.
Mr. Marshall, if you ever come on this show, you know what? Hey, the film don't lie, so I'm sorry, Mr. Marshall, but hey, y'all got beat down that day.
Well, you'll see a trap on Jim Marshall. I don't know if you've seen it or not. When I trapped him, his feet were going up in the air and work was coming around the corner.
That was the clip. That was the clip that they talked, that John Facenda had the legendary line where he said, Larry Zonk runs. He says he runs the field like a mule plows a field. He literally called him a plow mule, and that was when he went into the end zone. Yeah,
I won't take that as an insult, but
but you guys dominated one of the best defensive fronts in pro history that never won a Super Bowl. They went to 4 straight Super Bowls and got manhandled each time that they went.
correct. But you know, at that time, the AFC was a better league than the NFC at that particular time. So
now just kind of getting to, you know, we talked about the 72 team, 73 team. We have tons of stories on that, and we talked about your journey somewhat to the Hall of Fame. After you retired football, I want to get into the community side of things with the crew. You know, it means a lot that you went back, and I know it was a bitter pill for you to swallow, but thank God that you went back to your alma mater at Bethune Cookman, and you turned that program around, and you started having those guys to win. And then and matter of fact, I got to make sure I do this because I'm gonna get cursed out tomorrow if I don't do this. Coach Bill Hayes said he still got you in his back pocket. He wanted me to tell you that. Legendary coach, he came on the show. He wanted me to make sure I relayed that message. So, Coach Hayes, you can't kill me for not saying it.
Let me tell you another story about Bill Hayes. When Bill was at North Carolina A&T and I was at Bethune Cookman, the game was over. One of my players jumped offside, and we got a penalty. Next play, a Hail Mary in the end zone. They caught the ball. Bill Hayes, I think his quarterback was Cornell Maynard.
Yep, coaching right now.
Yeah, and they caught the ball in the zone to beat us. The second time I was at North Carolina Central, and Bill was a Central graduate. We were CIAA, Division II. They were MEAC at the time, 1AA. Their quarterback threw the pass, and my linebacker hit him as he was throwing the pass. We intercepted the pass. Trey Oliver, who's now the head football coach at North Carolina Central, intercepted the pass. Out of nowhere, I called his name, the official. His name was Sam Jones. Threw a flag saying it was a late hit to give them, that sent the game in overtime. We went from a high-low, a high. After that, he threw that flag to a low. And they won that game in overtime. And that's some game. That's when Trey beat A&T this past year. I called Trey and said, Trey, he said, yeah, coach, we finally got redemption. And Trey went on to win the Black College National Championship this year. Trey was one of my guys that played for me at Bethune at a North Carolina Central. That's twice that Bill got me on play that they shouldn't have got me. And Bill stopped lying.
And he's notorious for telling how, you know, he whooped folks, but he said the one guy that gave him problems was Dr. Willett Bailey, who was at Virginia Union. He said, and Coach Hayes is still pissed off. Coach Willett Bailey is still pissed off that Bill Hayes stole his cousin Timmy Newsom, who played for the Cowboys, played at Winston-Salem State. He's still mad about that to this day, and he's coming on next week.
Well, you know, as a matter of fact, he'll tell you, we applied for the job at the same time at North Carolina Central. Coach Bailey did. And he was coming out for an interview. I was going in, either vice versa. But I was fortunate enough to get the job, but he applied for the same job that I did. And one of my former players Kevin Grisby was one of Willard Bailey top assistants.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what I just did, I just switched the background because that's a poster that I'm going to send you, Mr. Little. My guys, I'm gonna let them ask you another question because I got 2 more questions and then we're gonna wrap it up tonight. So I'm gonna let my man K Dub jump on this one, and then my man Great Beard is gonna jump on this next one for you.
Well, man, like we touched on that 72 team. I just want to know just how it is walking around the streets and just still being a part of that team. Like just never. I don't really feel like it's gonna be broken because we went to 17 games and and all the games we got in the playoffs. So I just feel like even going to your grave, just being a part of that team, which is so special. Can you just put it into words to our viewers and listeners?
Repeat that again. I can hardly get what you were saying.
Now I'm just saying, expound on being on that 1972 team, just being just going to your grave thinking, because I don't really believe just every record has been made to be broken, but with them expanding those games, I just don't see it happening. But just being part of just that major history, just a part of something I just don't see being broken, going to your grave, just putting that on, you can put that on your tombstone, part of that.
This year would be 51 years since we went undefeated.
Yeah.
And I use the quote, often imitated, but never duplicated. We are. I mean, there's some people got close. They knocked on the door, but they couldn't keep that door open.
What you got for him, Great Beard?
I'm proud of that. Like I said, a lot of people drink champagne. Our guys drink champagne. We lost 17 guys off of that team that's no longer with us. But they have my little goose somewhere. I'll find it.
You know what? I'll be honest with you. If you guys get that record again where no one touches it, I'll send you I can go to the military base. I'll get you a big bottle of goose that you and your teammates can have, and I'll send that to you personally, Mr. Little.
I'll be right on it after we get off this interview. This is my sleeping pill.
Hey, look, I love it.
I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
You know what, Mr. Little, you deserve it. As hard as y'all worked back in the day, y'all were playing for peanuts, ripping each other's throats out. And with these young guys that are playing in the game today, they don't appreciate the sacrifices that you made. So guess what? You deserve a shot. BirdCage approves.
I don't give a damn what nobody say. I'm gonna take it anyway.
Yes, sir.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
Now see, that's a true day. That's a true bottom boy coming out right there.
Well,
that's a true Dade County boy right there.
This is overtime.
Yes, sir. You and Coach Williams, boy, y'all both, Lord, that overtime is strong.
A lot of people, we have accomplished a lot in our lives, Pup and myself. But there's another person that graduated from our high school that you guys know, but no one talks about him. Les Brown. Les Brown and I were in the same class, 1963. Our high school have produced some outstanding people, not only nationwide, but worldwide, because Les is worldwide. One of the best, speakers ever. And Les and I were in the same class in 1963. 14 games is a touch schedule. Somebody put, that's a tough schedule.
So the gentleman who put that, his name is Damian Mitchell. So his dad, I don't know if you remember him. His dad is Falcons tight end, former Falcons tight end, God rest his soul, Jim Mitchell.
I remember the Falcons. Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's Mr. Mitchell's son. That's Damian.
Okay.
Yeah. So and he played at Morris Brown too. So he's an HBCU alum as well.
But that was Tommy Hard, who was a hell of a football player at Morris Brown also.
Oh yeah.
He played with the 49ers. Yeah.
And Alfred Jenkins was another one we talked about that came out of Morris Brown. That was a good ball player too. But Graybeard, what you got for Mr. Little, man?
Mr. Little, what would you say to this generation of football player coming into the league? What advice would you give them?
Well, it's hard to give them advice nowadays because they really don't listen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've introduced myself to some young guys, man. How you doing? Yeah, okay. They have no clue. They have no clue.
What?
But some of the guys have been very receptive. And I tell them just believe in what you're doing, because this game will not be around forever. And get prepared and be for a second life after football, because football won't last forever. And you got to be ready. But see, these guys make some money nowadays. They don't have to do anything after football. Where I had to get a job doing football after football season was over. But it was very rewarding for me. I was able to get into coaching. I was able to get into the school system. I just retired last year, January. I called to tell everybody it's January 15, 2022, when I walked away from the job that I had. And I didn't have to walk away then, but I was just tired. The hardest part about that job was waking up in the morning to go. It was so easy. But I had my degree, so I was able to get into the school system.
Congratulations on your retirement, Mr. Little, with the school system. We're gonna need great teachers. I've heard a lot of great things about you, about being an educator and just being someone that a lot of the younger generation looked up to. And a lot of people don't talk about it much. You had a younger brother named David Little who played in the NFL for about 10 years, right?
12 years.
I'm sorry, it was 12 years, Mr. David Little.
Yeah,
And
David, my younger
for the Steelers.
Yeah, he was the baby of the family, and unfortunately passed away during a bad accident. And but we were 14 years apart. I was more like his daddy than a big brother. And but that thing hit us like a ton of bricks. He was the baby of the family, like I said, and I had an older brother that passed away. I'm the only male. I have 4 sisters that's still walking, but I'm the only one left. And that blows my mind every time I think about what happened with my brother David. And I want to say this too before we go.
Yes, sir.
You talk about coaching trees. I have 4 of my guys that played for me at North Carolina Central are now head football coaches at HBCUs. And they were all teammates.
Mm.
Trey Oliver, who just won a national championship last year at North Carolina Central.
Yep.
Sean Gibbs, who's the head football coach at Fort Valley State. Dawson Odom, who's the head football coach at Norfolk State.
And he was at Southern University before he went there, ladies and gentlemen. Let me put that out there. The Southern University, SU.
And Adrian Jones, who's the head football coach at Shaw University. All those guys played. All of them on the team at the same time too, and they're all head football coaches, and they at HBCUs. And all of them have hired other guys that played for me to be on their staff.
Okay.
Beautiful thing.
Beautiful.
So
I'm proud of those guys. And I just had a street named after me in Miami in March. And Trey and Sean came down. They were both on program to come and be on the program to tell lies on me.
Now we can't tell lies on you, Mr. Little, but one of the greatest things that you've done in the Miami community, and I'm gonna wrap it up with this because this is the philanthropy side. You have a Gold Coast summer camp that you have down in South Florida, you have a golf tournament where a lot of not just NFL legends, you have a lot of legends from different sports to come through and play in your golf tournament. You guys generate enough funds to donate for college scholarships. You guys have raised over $82,000 just to send kids to college. And you guys help out high school kids. It's so much that this organization has done in the Miami area with the cost of living being so high and everything that you guys have done. You've created a way for young people to have not only education but to have an opportunity, because if anybody's ever been to Miami before and you've been to the real Miami, we're not talking about South Beach, you
Oh no.
understand the pitfalls and the struggles some of these young individuals go through, and they understand, get it, how they live. And you've done such an amazing job with your organization, Mr. Little. I wanted to commend you on that. And we're going to be promoting your organization on the show as well.
Thank you very much. And the Larry Little Gold Coast Summer Camp started back when I was playing. And my partners and myself, we did something to get the kids out of their neighborhoods for a week. We wanted to take them out of their environment. It wasn't a day camp. We got them on a college campus where they were there for a week at Biscayne College and then Florida Memorial University College. And what we did was we would get them out of their environment for a week and stay for a week. The next week we bring them another group. And right now, to this day, I run into guys, they look older than I look. False teeth, no teeth in their mouth. Hey, Larry Little, I was your boys camp as a kid. What?
What the life done did to you?
Yeah, but we did that. My foundation now, the chairman of my foundation, we were looking for a 501c3. So he went back and investigated the old name of the camp. So that's why he said, well, let's keep that Larry Little Gold Coast Summer Camp. And we had a meeting today at my foundation, and then we went together. We donated over $1 million to people for help. The last 2 years, I also give $20,000 in scholarships to Bethune Cookman every year. This past year we had $43,000 scholarships. Last year, $42,000 scholarship. So we're happy with what we do. We bring, because I was a poor guy growing up in Miami. Out of 6 children at the time, 7 children, and I just want to give these kids an opportunity. And we have guys now that we're getting scholarships now that are doctors that have come through our summer camp, our foundation. They're doctors or in law school. So, and Coach Williams come down to play in the golf tournament every year too. Coach George Williams, the great George Williams, the Hall of Fame track coach George Williams, my tight man.
And so I'm not going to keep you any longer. I just wanted to make sure that we touch bases with you. I got to give a shout out to Miss Ingrid Stewart, your assistant, who gave me the information, and she's helping me get some more information about your organization. Like I said, we're up and coming podcast. We're working on some things, but the one thing that we're good about is trying to promote and just trying to help the community in any way that we can.
And she's my right hand. I don't know what I'd do without her, I'm telling you. And the good thing about, well, not a good thing about it, she lost her husband in January. He had a heart attack and just dropped dead. But she's still out there doing what she's been doing for the whole while that she's been with us. And Coach Williams coached her husband in track at St. Augustine. So that's that bond that's still there with her.
And I'm just blessed. I'm just blessed to I was able to talk to her, and Coach Williams loves this show, talks about all of us, and I talked to him yesterday. He's supposed to be going down to the Bahamas or whatnot. He told me, I said, hey man, you got to stay out of trouble, man. You got that hurricane out there. He said, I'm a Florida boy. Hurricanes don't move me. He said the only thing that moved me is a little bit of money and some good potted meat for dinner.
That sounds just like him.
So I wanted to tell you thank you again for joining us, Mr. Little. We appreciate your time tonight. If those who don't know about it, the organization is on the internet, larrylittle.org. That pretty much talks about the summer camps, the golf tournament, ways that you can donate. This is a way that you can actually still help out with the community down in the South Florida area with Mr. Little to continue his great works. And we're going to be on standby for that book that you're talking about that you're going to be putting out. We definitely want to put that out here on the BirdCage as well, sir.
When you're talking about Willie Neal, the same guy that's my ghostwriter, he wrote a book on Willie Neal also. So,
Ooh,
okay.
Yeah. So, all right, man, I enjoyed it.
Well, we thank you for coming on, Mr. Little. We appreciate it. And I'll probably get at you tomorrow so I can get that information so I can send it off to you.
Okay, appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Mr.
Good
Little.
evening,
You too.
Sure.
So, gentlemen, we wrap up another lovely, magnificent podcast with the legendary Larry Little.
Man,
One of the few members, like you said, that's still around from that 72 Dolphins team, man. How did y'all feel about this podcast tonight, man? Honestly.
man, we just met a legend. I mean, a legend. He was part of that perfect Dolphin team. Come on,
They
man.
don't talk. And here's the thing, they don't talk to everybody. That's the funny part.
Man.
Well, man,
But
we're doing legendary things for a legendary group, the BirdCage. So we just right on par to what we're striving for and what we're putting out here, the content. So all our listeners and subscribers, just get ready, buckle up your seatbelts. It's gonna be more of the same.
Oh yeah.
yes, sir. We have a ton of things that's gonna be coming your way. Where we're just helping folks get on the good foot, as old James Brown used to say. But if you did like this episode this evening, ladies and gentlemen, we have more that's gonna come towards you. Please, please, please click the like and the subscribe button for us, and it'll definitely help us so we can bring some more folks on board. I'm gonna go ahead and switch this back to the Falcons. So preseason's over with now. We got this season coming up. Carolina's coming up first, gentlemen. We've got some work to do when it comes to the depth part of the Falcons, because we look good with our first string being able to move the ball, but when we kill these penalties, I think offensively we're going to be a very, very good team. But I just think it's so much that we still got to clean up, and we're going to see what they do next week when Carolina comes calling.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think everybody gotta get ready to get locked in. I mean, you work so hard in the off season to get to this stage, to get to the time of the year, football. So you want to put your right foot forward. You want to give the people what they want, which is a good football team, and show them what we can do later on in the year.
Most definitely. K-Dub, you already know what it is, baby. You've been calling it just like I've been calling it. I still, regardless of what the backups did, I still feel as if we stay healthy enough, we got 10, 11 wins this year.
11 wins.
Yeah, I've been calling 10, 11 wins. I just feel like we're going to basically gonna keep churning the back end of the roster. I like our starters. I like the second string, but we just continue to always improve the roster. But I feel like that first game with Carolina, maybe even to the second game, without our starters getting a lot of reps, we're going to have a lot of rust we need to knock off. But hopefully, even with the rust being knocked off, that we still win the game. So but the key and the main thing with Coach Arthur Smith and the organization is saying is, let's get to the start of the season healthy, because it's a very, very long season, and preseason games really don't hurt, don't help the franchise. It really only hurts the franchise when you got franchise players going down before the season starts. That's ticket sales, that's games that are we're gonna play that it really means something, that we need to have those games at the end of the season, and we need to have those guys fresh and lively, ready to go for week 1 and going forward.
All I know,
Right.
college football is back, fella.
Yeah, man. And go out.
Florida look hot garbage.
Well, I was gonna say, well, right now we gotta hope that the product of Florida that we have that was a first round pick doesn't look as bad. So we gotta hope that he actually balls out this year. So so we can get some good production. But we will definitely chop this thing up next week because we're gonna be talking about the Falcons and the Panthers. But on Wednesday next week, we will have another legend coming through. Dr. Willard Bailey will be coming through. Legendary HBCU head coach. He sent over 100 guys to the NFL coming out of Virginia Union and also Norfolk State. So we've got some stuff coming for you. So y'all just stay tuned. And we definitely appreciate you guys coming on. Thanks to our guest, Mr. Larry Little, for coming through.
Legend.
Thank you for Graybeard coming through. Thank you, Clutch, as usual. And also, one more time, congratulations to Coach Brant on his new addition to the family, another grandson.
Congratulations, Coach B.
Grampy B, as he's called. But we definitely appreciate you guys for coming on tonight. And we thank you, viewers, for coming through tonight. We appreciate everything that you do for us every week, spending at least an hour and a half with us. We definitely love you guys. We got some other things that's going to be coming. So you just stay tuned to what we're going to be doing pretty soon, man. We love you guys. We love everything that you bring to the table for us. And again, if you like the show, please like and subscribe. Also, tell your friends about us, please. We need everybody up in this party, including the law. So go ahead and check us out. We'll see you next week, Wednesday at 8 o'clock. We're going to have that interview with Dr. Willard Bailey. And then Thursday, we will be talking about the matchup with the Falcons and the Carolina Panthers. My name is Ryan Walker, better known as Historian. Hey, man, we out this thing, baby. Let's go.